applications for tonight. I know everyone's still looking for the seats, sorry about that. Because seats aren't where you're used to them being. But what we're going to do is we're going to get right into the four presentations. Keep in mind that these budget presentations are just that, a budget presentation. This may not be the final number, which you're going to see when all said and done. But each department has looked at the needs for their department and have come forward with that. Yes?
Can we ask questions for this or no? Is this not a question you answer or no?
What we're looking at is for each person presenting, we're giving them 10 and then 5 minutes to Q&A. So, with that being said, we are going to start with Pupil Personnel Services. So,
Okay, I am Sean Johnson, I'm the Director of Pupil Personnel Services, which I will tell you what that is, because you might not know what PPS stands for. Pupil Personnel Services are all the services for students within the district and outside of the district. Those services are staffed by about 43 people that come under my department, which is special ed teachers, aides, all the related services, speech, OT, PT, hearing, vision, counseling, social work, school psychologists, as well as nurses. They all fall under PPS. Some of our roles in the district, so you know why this budget's designed around it. Besides special ed, because when people see me, they think special ed, which is responsible for kids 3 through 21 in the district. We also oversee 504 accommodation plans for children. We also...
Can you explain what a 504 is?
Not really.
Okay. But basically it's accommodation.
I will.
Thank you. Not everyone knows our jargon.
A 504 is so complicated.
It is complicated.
It's an accommodation plan for students that might have needs to help within their classroom setting, plans put in place. Like they might need extended time for a test, or they might need to sit up front near the teacher so they won't be distracted. Those plans are overseen, and they're for any student that might need those needs. Special ed in general, they don't have to have an IEP, which is a special ed individualized education plan to have that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is a actual a federal law from the Office of Civil Rights. So you can have a 504 plan from the minute you're born to the minute you pass away. That's what is the Office of Civil Rights. We also oversee English and ESL. You're gonna get a lot of these acronyms. English is a second language. Those are for our students in the district whose native language may not be English. So we also have services that we provide for them. This is mandated. We also provide coordination for migrant services. We have migrant students within the district. We also coordinate the free and reduced breakfast and lunch program. So that's for students that economically they need free or reduced lunch and breakfast they're entitled to. We oversee
Homeless?
I was going to say that. And homeless, which this district does have an increase in students that are homeless, temporarily housed. We have actually doubled this year than we typically have.
Sean, can you explain that?
Absolutely, because I know a lot of people in all the years have done this, think, oh my God, we got people living in boxes out in Eden. Not necessarily. There's a lot of criteria for homeless. Most of our kids that we consider homeless or temporarily housed are doubled up, which means their parents lost a job, or there's domestic violence, or there's some sort of situation, so they move in with grandma and grandpa, or they move in with a friend out here. They're entitled to services. Give you a scenario, if that happened and they were going to Hamburg, they were going to Hamburg Central School, and they lost their house. They were evicted, they had no place to go, they're coming to live with grandma out here on Eckerd Road in Eden. They are allowed to come to our school or stay in Hamburg, but they are completely covered. Whatever they decide to do, we get 100% reimbursable from the school district they came from, which is Hamburg. So that's a whole, that's a federal law. It's called the McKinney-Vento law. There's transportation involved in it. There's services involved in it. You know, we make many, many home visits in our department because we're all about getting in and helping the families. I mean, we even help these people get health insurance as one of the roles that we do out of our department. Another thing that, real quick, that we want you to know is PPS is all the nurses and anything health related. Our doctor for the district, our physicals, our immunizations, any major health crisis, which always comes through athletics, thank you. Those type of things we oversee. So that's PPS, that's with the budget. And just so you know, is services for kids, most of them are mandated by the federal government and the state government, but that doesn't mean they always give us the money to do it. So that's what you need to understand. We have to do it, but we don't get the money. I'm just going to target just a few things on my budget real quick. I'm going to do my presentation. I just want to let you know that I will be leaving after because we are running a sensory workshop for the students and families in the district over at GLP tonight, so I wanna get over there and see. It is fun, it is messy, gooey, it's great, I saw sensory things, so I'll be over there. Couple things I wanna point out from my budget. There's some things on there, and I'm not gonna go line by line, but I'm gonna give you a couple key points. There's a line in there that says tuition, for public, I think public schools or public districts it says. Let me explain, this is a lovely unfunded mandate that we have. What that means is, let's see, there's a student at St. Peter and Paul. Now, he's an Eden student, he lives in Eden, but he goes to St. Peter and Paul, which is Hamburg School District. Hamburg determines, I have no control on this, that this child is special ed. He needs a resource room services, he needs some speech, and we gotta give him OT. So they do it, they do all that part and everything, and then all of a sudden, we get a bill for it. Now, I don't know about this kid, I never hear about this till what happened to Tom and I this year, when your POC calls us up and says, we have a child at Nativity or wherever, and you owe us $10,000 to pay for the services. So that's why we have to budget in that line. I have no clue where these kids are, and they don't have to tell me, but I have to make sure I pay for them. So that's just another mandate that we have to do. Another line in there that I just kind of wanted to bring up that's kind of this new, and I did bring this up. In pupil personnel, we oversee all the Medicaid services for the kids in this district. Medicaid services are mandated from the Department of Health to give to students, but what it does for us, it brings you revenue. So if we bill for these services, you're going to get money back. And this is why I want to bring up this one line that we had increased, which was psychological testing. And what that is that with all the new mandates for testing children for needs, we have to buy the new updated version of these tests that in a year we have to have. We're actually buying it in this coming year's budget because we get it, I'm all about bargains, we get a 10% discount on it. But we have to use it, and that's how we get our Medicaid funding back if we utilize these physically. If you go to the doctor and you all have diagnosis, they give you this code they put on your bill, that is all changing, and it's all changing for us in education. Because we use those medical codes that you get at the doctor to bill, it comes out of my office to bill, to get the money back for Medicaid services. So that line went up a little bit because we had to buy this testing, we have to do it so we can get the money back.
Shawna,
Yeah.
can I say something on the Medicaid?
Sure.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, do we get 100% of that back?
No, we
or
do
just
not.
a portion?
Yeah, we get about 2%. If we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, and they've cut everything, we used to get money for transportation, we used to get money for, other types of services like meetings, and that's been cut.
In fact, this year, we weren't able to put in for transportation costs associated with Medicaid students. It's not that
It's changed, and it's an enormous amount of work that has to go into it. All our people's license have to go in, we have to, a doctor has to approve a script for a child to get OT with your Medicaid. I have to go online and see if that doctor has any fraudulent things against them. I mean, this is what the schools have to do, I mean, everybody has to do that. Did he get in trouble, does he have a malpractice against him? If not, then we can't bill it, if we bill it, then we're fraudulent. So there's a lot that goes into that, that comes out of our office. Another area has a little bit increase, and I know everybody cringes when they hear about conference or travel lines, but what we have to do, very interesting, I just spent my entire day at BOCES, because now the new regulations from the state for our kids that are graduating, now, in special ed, they can say that they're 21, that are exiting, we have to have a work-based learning program for them if need be, which means I have kids and they're pounding, trying to get the regents, and they can't, they've taken global for like 10 times, can't get through it. Well, we can't let them drop, we gotta give them something. So the state is saying, well, you gotta get them out the workforce and give them those skills so they can have a job when they get out. So I built in money in that budget because every time I send a kid out, I gotta pay transportation. Take them over to Surefine to work, or take them here, or in Hamburg. So I needed to build money in there, and we have a class up in the building of kids that functionally need to get out and work study programs. I wanted to build the money in there, so I have that in there.
Which one was it?
It comes under, if you wanna look down on, hold on one second, it's 225,475, it says conference and travel.
Yep, okay.
We use a lot of that money for the kids going out and doing things, and if they need to purchase things for them as they go out, that's in there. It's not like my staff and I are going to stay at the Hilton, it's not what happens, it's mostly driven for the kids. And now that we have this work-based learning program I have to do, we're gonna need it more and more. Cause then I have to pay transportation for it, like they don't, if I have to do that. One other, little thing I wanted to bring up that is not in this budget, but you'll see, and you'll have to notice our budget, because everybody says, oh my God, special ed costs us so much money. We actually, Tom, tell us, we did good this year. We kept it down better than we could, we really did.
They did, they worked
We
very
worked
hard.
very, very hard with a staff of 43 people to try to keep it down, to serve some kids.
And we worked very hard to maximize the money we're getting back,
Yes,
so.
we are the one, and he never likes me to say this, but we are the one department that actually does bring in revenue.
You're not the only one.
not the
that
only,
brings
but I
in
gotta
revenue. Other
perk our
departments do as well, so.
I wanted to kind of give you a little bit about, we have a class at the GLP, and some of our board members know this, but I don't know if community members do. We have a classroom at the GLP that is, provides services for children with autism. And in that classroom, it's built onto a sensory room, and if you ever get the chance to stop over there and see it, it is phenomenal. That sensory room in the classroom, so the kids, when they need to take that break, they go over there, and it is, there's lights and bubbles, machines, and vibrating chairs, and balls, and all that stuff. So, swings, the swings, the huddle pod.
And I'm just being timekeeper.
Yeah, I know, I'm hurrying. So anyways, just real quick, that class is moving up to the elementary, because those kids are older. We had an autism walk last year, our first annual autism walk. I'm hurrying. And, it raised $25,000, the walk, that was from Eden community members and people that showed up. And we built another sensory room at the elementary school.
That's where we're going.
And that's where we're going. And I just gotta plug, our next autism walk is April 5th. We have Fish Fry on the 4th, and that money, a lot of it's gearing towards my students need technology. We were able to purchase, I think, 30 iPads last year with the walk, and we want to do more and more. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Budget and plug, very nice.
I'm all about plugging in our department.
Questions for Mrs. Johnson?
You should go first.
Okay, sure.
The funds that you receive from Medicaid, does that go, I'm just a little confused, where does that money go?
It goes back into the general fund.
It does,
Mhm.
okay.
I don't get to see.
Any monies that come into the district go to the overall general
General
fund.
fund.
Because there's no one department, period, that sustains themselves. So what we do is we take all of our revenue sources to support the entire fund.
Yes.
First one I gotta ask is, you said we had various programs that are mandated,
But not fun.
but they don't fund you.
Right.
What happens if we tell them no?
You can't-
No, no,
They
don't
take
tell
your
me.
money.
They take your federal,
They can
because there
withhold our
is,
state aid,
right,
Okay.
it's
which
the
is a
state.
significant portion of our budget. Our state aid is roughly, and I'm just ballparking, about $12 million.
Mhm.
And out of $25.7 million. You start withholding parts of $12 million, you're gonna see the cuts immediately. So it's their way of making sure you do what they want by forcing you to buy.
But if they are bankrupting you, you might as well let it happen.
Well,
Because you're not, she's not the
We
first
can't.
person, she's not the first person that has told me it's mandated, but they don't give me the money. She's probably the fourth. They mandate this, but they say we're not gonna give you the money. So
We,
sooner or later, they're gonna force you, they're gonna break
they
you.
are. Well, that's, and I will just say my little personal spiel, which is not district related in any way, shape, or form. This is just my own personal conservative view. I think the state has put school districts in a very tough position. They pitted districts against each other. The funds are slowly drying up, and it is almost becoming a survival of the fittest. And unfortunately, it's a political battle, but really ultimately the ones who suffer are the students.
Right.
So while you're saying, maybe we don't do the unfunded mandate, if we don't do that, it's our kids who are gonna suffer. So you're absolutely right, I get what you're saying.
you are, can I jump into one thing? And if I didn't provide these services, every service that I do provide, the district would be sued.
That's right.
Right, which
And
costs
our
us more
law,
money too.
legal fees would be, and we have been able to do this and not have a lawsuit against us, it's huge. Because if you notice, most districts have special ed lawsuits and we don't. So it's a catch
How
22.
much time?
I got about 2 more minutes.
I got another.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at your budget here,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at a couple, okay, 212, 213, your budget was 1.25, 1.25 million, but you only spent just over $1 million, okay? And the biggest ones that there was a drop in was BOCES and tuition, all other.
Yes, I can explain that. It's
Okay,
different.
that was 125,000, and
Yes.
the other one was about 140,000.
Yes.
Wow.
That is all students. The tuition to all other is students that I have out in Falk, Gateway, Aspire. These are our most severe kids that are on private placements. They're special ed private. It's not like a St. Peter Paul. So that's it. So if I don't have those students, I don't need the money for them.
But you budget for assuming you're gonna have X
Right,
number
I
of
don't know if they're
students.
coming. I never know. Just to give you a scenario real quick, I had one year that a family moved in with 5 kids that all needed outside placements. I didn't know they were moving into Eden.
But it's not just the tuition, it's the busing.
Well, yeah,
And
but it's,
sometimes when you're
which is
on the
on their
bus-
transportation line.
Okay, so you forecasting your budget is
Is it-
crystal ball like.
Exactly, and I'm not real
Well,
good.
you're not the first one,
Yeah.
because I saw one last time, like,
That's why she's so calm.
It is what it is. I
And that's
don't
why
never
she
know
has
what's gonna
people-
walk in her door.
And that's why she gives people like me gray hair.
you said previously that, you got to provide them with health care benefits and stuff, or how?
Oh, I don't have to. I was just trying to share with you that if a family doesn't have insurance, they call us and I hook them up with Univera. The schools are kind of the middleman. We don't do anything. It
We
doesn't
don't.
cost us anything. But I'm
Okay.
just saying how much we help the families in the community that
Okay,
don't
I
have
got you,
it.
okay,
Yeah.
and Orchard Park sent you a bill for something,
Yes,
okay?
yes. That was the kid that was in
For a
the,
student that went to.
a parochial school.
Parochial school there
Receive
that
special
was an
services.
Eden resident that we didn't even know enrolled there. So they said, guess what? One of your residents enrolled here, here's a bill, pay it.
And any student can do that?
Yes. Mhm. In a city school district, that is not the case. In
Yes,
most
it-
others, it is.
So we had a student in Eden.
Yep, their family enrolled them in a parochial school.
Well, St. Peter Paul, we have when we pay for it.
St. Joe's, St. Peter's.
They don't tell us,
St. Mary's.
they just do it. And we pay it. But the same goes for, the
I
different.
thought they were trying to get, they were doing that, isn't it the?
Well, no.
No, they are. This is for special ed services only, not tuition. No, their parents have to pay for it. Yes, just special ed.
Yeah, so, yeah,
And the
it's,
parochial school had special ed enough?
it's the
Yes.
it's the services.
They have to by law.
that-
By law, because they get federal and
There's
state.
one more question.
One more question, then.
Sure,
Kristen.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Of all the people you listed, do social workers fall under
Yes.
your department? Okay.
Yes.
I just didn't get sure.
Yes,
OT, only in services.
we have our own social worker.
Sean, there was a question about the doctor earlier in the year.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
Yeah, the doctors, we by law have to have a school doctor. And we had budgeted only so much money, so we sent out, what do you call those in P?
RFP,
RFP.
request for proposal,
Right.
which is in essence, you're putting it out to the public. you'd like to get a
Anybody want
doctor,
a job?
Send us in how much it'll cost,
And at that time, we sent it out to, I think, 10 different
more.
doctors. I know, a ton, and we had no doctor. We were out of compliance because she was starting sports and, so, yeah. I know, Patty. And, but we're okay, we're okay.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. And so we, Dr. Calkins did come through, I met with her, went through everything, and actually came in way below what we had budgeted. That was helpful.
Again, for this coming year?
I haven't done that yet. We'll start that up in the spring.
In terms of budget, we're paying for it.
Yes, we have it budgeted, but I
Yes.
gotta do that.
Do you know what the number is for that one?
No, it's in a different
Yeah,
line
and I don't remember.
where my
We can look.
AEDs are and
Yeah,
the.
we can look for it.
Now, today was the physical.
Yes,
How did that go? Did it go smoothly?
Yes.
It did, she's coming back tomorrow, we have 30 today, so we ran a little bit over time, so she's coming back tomorrow to finish up 11 control programs.
Okay.
But that's still part of her,
She's so thorough.
she's very
Oh.
thorough, we're not used to that,
We're
where
not used to
Dr.
thorough.
Brady kind of went cough and you're done,
Yeah.
and that was it. So we're not used to having to take that long for physicals, but
And
it's
it's
good.
good.
Ms. Johnson, thank you very much. If anyone has other questions
Anything
for
else?
Ms. Johnson, please email her.
Okay.
Sean, have fun tonight.
I will, I'll be back
I
later.
know a lot of you did print, but this
I'm
is
gonna
the-
catch her on the athletic budget right now. I'm not as experienced as Mrs. Johnson, so I wrote out my budget. But what's coming around is a budget that's been done for the last 2 years, with the proposed expenses for the upcoming school year. Administrative team and I have worked collaboratively together to prepare a budget that is less than or equal to 5% increase from last year's budget for supplies and materials. With the upcoming budget, our goal is to maintain the high level of excellence that is exhibited by our athletes and teams. As you know, this year we already had 1 state championship, a wrestler leaving tomorrow to attend states in Albany, and several teams that start on Monday with the hope of making it to states. Thus far, 15 out of our 18 varsity teams have earned Scholar Athlete Awards, And we have had 3 seniors that have currently signed their letter of intent to play at Division I or II schools. We as an administrative team believe that the presented budget will allow us to maintain our high-quality athletic programs and earn such recognition, and continue to earn such recognition throughout the state. There are a few areas on this budget that are increasing due to the state mandates and contracts. The first is the officials line. The officials contract is currently in negotiations, and the ADs have been advised at our recent meeting to plan on an increase in the officials.
And AD's been athletic director.
I'm sorry,
This is based on
ADs
what
being
they know.
athletic directors in our meeting, that we should plan on the officials receiving an increase for next year. So we have budgeted for an increase for only the league contests. Eden, we cut it last year, we will continue to only fund league games. We will not fund scrimmages, non-league contests, or tournaments. Another area of increase that you will notice is for our athletic trainer. First, let me just take a step back and explain to you what an athletic trainer is. There was a misconception last year in the community that we were hiring a personal bodybuilder for our kids. An athletic trainer is a certified healthcare professional who practices in the field of sports medicine. We contract our trainer through Catholic Health, and they are increasing their hourly fee. With the increasing area of concern and mandates over concussion and your everyday ankle, knee, shoulder injuries, this is an absolute must for our district. In order to keep us under the 5% total increase, we did reduce some of the athletic trainers' hours, and we don't recommend decreasing to any lower of that. So you do know, we look every year, the same with Sean, we send out an RFP to the area providers of athletic trainers, which is UB, Sports Med, Excelsior, and then Catholic Health. Catholic Health, even with their raise, is still the lowest area provider that I can find. Eden, as you know, most of you know, we're merging with North Collins for football. I am anticipating around 8 to 12 North Collins students coming over to join our football program next year. This increase in athletes is also going to account for an increase in my supplies and my equipment in our athletic lines. Staying within the sport of football, I'm going to switch over to the reconditioning line. The reconditioning line is used to send our football helmets out to be conditioned. This again is this New York State requirement. Football helmets are reconditioned, tested every year to make sure that they are safe for our students. They only have a shelf life of 5 years. This year we had 20 helmets fail. I need to replace those 20 helmets for next year. And lastly, you'll notice that we did have an increase in the conference and travel line. That's to send our athletes to state championships. I have seen our teams compete this year. I see the work that most of them are putting in already for next year. I am anticipating sending 3 to 4 teams to state competition. It is important to remember some teams have never won a state championship. Some teams have never even made it to states. Eden's dedicated and hardworking coaches, athletes, and parents are the reasons that we are a staple at state competition. Ask away.
Could you just back up for 1 second?
Yep.
Because you talked about the merge with North Collins and the addition to supplies, but we're also getting the revenue.
We are, but just like Mrs. Johnson's line, that is something that I don't see that goes into the general fund. So the North Collins district will be paying $400 per athlete. That goes into the general fund. I still have to purchase out of, we still have to purchase out of our supply line equipment for those children.
But it's supposed to be a balance in cost.
It is, I just,
Wait a minute,
So why?
elaborate on that $400, it's, when you say it's going into the general fund, does that mean it's going into your general
No.
fund?
I
No,
don't,
the general
we don't
fund
have a general.
is the big pie, that is our budget of $25.7 million. That pays for everything for the district. Every department, every salary, every textbook, every computer, that is our biggest line. We have some other funds out there, but that's the biggest one right there.
But that doesn't, it seems to make sense to me that that should go
That
into
should go
our
right to
budget.
her. But here's, and you echo the same sentiment that many other people, many of the administrators do. The problem is, if we get the money directly back to that department only to use, we'd be taking it away from somewhere else. No department, none, has enough coming in to support their costs. So every department is subsidized by that general fund. So it all goes into one pot and pays for everything.
Yeah, but
Don, it's almost like just take it easy because it's something coming back, just keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking at the
Yeah,
budget.
but she's gonna incur the expense of it.
Well, she is, but I mean, that department's not paying for it specifically, so the expenses come under that department. It's not like that department is specifically writing the checks for it. The checks are still being written out of that $25.7 million. So when that money comes back in, that goes into that $25.7 million pot. So when the bills come in for athletics, they don't go to her department. They come to the business office, they get paid out of that 25.7. So in essence, it does come back, but that revenue line is one big pot of money. So they get it back, they just don't see it because they don't see the bills coming out.
I finally get to say I've already revenue.
You do?
That's right.
I've never been able to say
I
that.
got another one for you.
No.
Go ahead, Dave.
You had said that you're only going to fund league games. Will any of our sports teams be playing scrimmages?
We will if they are funded by the sports teams like they were this current year, so, and
And how were they funded this year?
they were funded through either fundraising, if you wanted to host a competition that was non-league tournament or a scrimmage, or we allow the parents to drive their children to away non-league contests. So if you can arrange that with the school, we're allowing that.
Okay.
That was part of our major deductions last year.
Excuse me, on the driving, does that incur liability on the school's part because it's a school activity?
We asked that last year as part of these cuts. We took it to our insurance agent, and our insurance, the school's insurance said as long as we had the parents sign off on it, which we do, we have a permission slip that was approved, that, and we keep that we would be covered. We try not to make it the norm. It's usually on only the non-league contests.
Did you see the article about the Clarence people? And they earned over, well, not Clarence, over $145,000 to do all their sports programs because their budget got canned. Is that a threat to you?
I think if you totaled up the amount that our booster club has spent,
Oh, I
it's
know, I've
more
heard,
than that.
no, I understand that. I'm
Mhm.
just, I see these things in the paper.
Clarence is much different than us as far as the levels of sports that they offer. They would be a district that has a modified team, a JV team, a varsity team, plus a ninth grade A team, a ninth grade B team, a combined JV team, because of the size of their district. So they have a lot more people and personnel to deal with than a district
But
like
I think
us.
last year's budget for Clarence too, they honestly, the district did not believe that their budget would fail. They honestly didn't believe it.
They went out with a very large increase, close to
Oh.
about 10%, and,
Massive.
So
Absolutely.
I thought they were trying to get it to get you.
We
but,
couldn't understand it.
but I would like to actually just touch on a comment that you actually made, and I think it's a great comment. One of the things in the previous district I came in, I was a fundraiser by trade before I got into education. And a lot of districts now are forming foundations to do things just like what you said, to fund for sports, to fund for things that can't fit in the budget. It's not just sports, it's whatever is needed within the district. That's something this district, I think, should look at. Our revenues that we bring in are pretty steady. They're not changing that much. So unless we have different monies coming in, I'll tell you, the town one is where I came from. I mean, their foundation right now is paying for things that are important to the community that we just can't put in the budget. So it may be something to look at.
When you talked about the personal trainer, Marissa, what line was that on?
That's miscellaneous.
Oh, because that was my next question.
Yeah.
Why
It's
is
miscellaneous.
Why is miscellaneous the largest
Yeah.
line?
Yeah.
Miscellaneous is,
Why
miscellaneous
did
is
you
the,
put personal trainer down?
I can't
There's
title
not-
my own lines, they
it's
don't let
state
me
codes.
because I would love to change those, but they tell me it's state
There's no
code.
personal trainer.
Because I think it would answer a lot of people's questions.
And what else? I have a couple of questions. On the equipment, what is the equipment again? That was very large. What is, can you describe that a little bit?
The equipment last year was the 10,000 for the scoreboard. So
10,000 out of.
the board last year decided to put 10,000 towards the new football scoreboard.
So that means you can put it in again for next year?
No, like the pool this year, the speakers
Or defend
there.
me on this one, because I
No.
didn't.
No, the pool speakers need to actually be replaced,
We
so.
put it in so, because there was
Putting
no,
another 10,000 towards the speakers, I thought that was already paid for.
the pool has not been touched.
That was
Oh,
the
this is
inside
cool.
gym.
The pool.
Okay.
So we said, we still have
The
to.
pool, the lights,
take
there is
care.
structures within the district that could be fixed.
Wouldn't that be under,
For the pool.
wouldn't that be under the?
Capital.
It's under my.
Yeah, capital?
We can't wait. The problem with the pool is it's a health and safety issue. So if in fact our speakers and our PA go down, which we're very concerned about happening, we can't wait for a capital project. We would have to close down the pool. And so that's about where we are right now, is hoping to get them fixed by August, because Lucinda is very concerned that they aren't going to last.
And,
Otherwise, the answer would have been less, but we couldn't really.
and,
Well,
Yeah.
and if I could allow Laura to ask questions, she's been waiting very patiently.
I have. Couple things. First off, the speakers are actually technology. So why would they be,
We can't put everything in the technology budget. When you see the technology presentation, there is a, massive need there. So, yeah.
okay, but that wasn't actually my question.
Okay,
Here's
fine.
my question, and comment, if
There you go.
I may. As I look at this line by line, it seems like, because the only thing we really have to compare is 12, 13. And just about every single line came in under budget, almost every line. With the 13, 14, and none of these, we don't have, where are we as of
Is it this
now?
here?
So that we can look at, are we okay, or have we over budgeted, under budget, you know what I mean? So
And
it's
the
hard for us to build next year's budget using 2 years
To
ago.
put this year's expenses out is really, it's kind of like a fool's errand, because we're not done with the year, so whatever you see there is not gonna be the right information. So you can look and say, hey, that budget line is 20,000, I only see 2,000 in it. Well, you know what, that
Because that's
line,
what's spent yet.
right, that line may bill in June, so it really doesn't help. Now, what we might be able to do in the future is add 11, 12, so you have a couple of years trend data, so we can do that.
That would help,
Yeah.
because at least if we could see,
Yeah, we can do
so
that.
3 years in a row, we came in under budget on every line item, why are we budgeting so much again and again and again?
That's really.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean, like
Some bills we won't.
I mean,
get
was
to
that
the
just a really good year that we came in that much under budget? Nobody went to states, nobody went,
But I will tell you, when each of the administrators looked at the budget, they did look at several years trend data.
Okay.
So we're just giving a summary here, but we
Okay.
can do for these presentations that.
I think it would help.
Now, if the money wasn't spent, does it roll over into the same?
the general one.
It goes to the general fund
Oh, it
again,
does.
because again,
Or
some
it
lines
never
are
leaves-
under,
or it
some
never
are over.
leaves the general fund.
Well, it could leave the general fund, a couple things can actually happen with it. It could go into reserves, which we do have in some years, depends on where we end. It could go towards next year's expenses, like we already know when we have a shortfall, we usually take some from the previous year, we underspent, and a little left over, we use it towards next year's budget. Or instead, it just goes to a different line, if one line's over and one line's under.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have one comment. Marissa and I tend to work pretty close together because athletics and facilities kind of have to work hand in hand. And we have how many different sport opportunities for the students?
57 teams.
57 teams. And I want to call your attention to the very third line of her budget that says supplies. To be able to fund supplies for 57 teams. And I know this woman has gone out and begged, borrowed, and stolen everything she could possibly steal from every group in this community to get what she can get for the kids. And still only need $10,000 in the budget is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal.
Can I ask what the difference between supplies and equipment?
Supplies is your everyday, your basketballs, your volleyballs, your
It's
volleyball
not
nets.
equipment?
Equipments are larger.
Equipment
dollar
is
amounts.
anything over 500.
So speakers,
So supplies would
equipment,
be like
volleyball,
purchase
supplies.
uniforms,
Like
like
pads, football pads, supplies?
pads is supplies.
Really? Huh, it's interesting.
But how
Your
much are
fountain,
women?
no, your helmets, I still have to do under supplies.
Even the Olympic sports.
The equipment was the stereo system or the scoreboard, everything else is
Supplies
supplies.
are under. Is that on each or as a whole?
Each.
Marissa, what's the cost of having lacrosse, girls and boys,
We didn't figure out the total balance. Booster Club has already put 7,000, but it's usually about 10,000 each year for the modified teams. That pays for modified lacrosse, that pays for both coaches, modified girls and modified
So
boys.
it's 2 teams.
It's 2 teams. It pays for,
The 7 pays for the 2 teams?
no, right now Boosters has put 7 in, we're still trying, we just got the official schedule, so we're still working out the transportation cost. But typically, it's usually 10,000 for the 2. Boosters just wanted to give money towards it right now. But I believe last year the bill was around 9,900, I think, 9,900.
So I think the piece, if you back it up, is boosters funds.
Boosters funds
and
modified,
and
no, Boosters funds modified girls lacrosse and modified boys lacrosse. That is the cost of the coaches, the officials for the 8 home games, the transportation for the 8 away games.
And I think it really does need to be said, we are very indebted to the Boosters. They've really stepped up and supported themselves.
What they have been able to do, we could have never afforded to do simply because of the wage rate that we have to pay as a district to have a contractor come in here and work in our buildings.
This is the speakers that just went
The
into
new
gyms.
stereo
This is the
system is
scorecard
amazing
outside,
in the
the stereo
gym.
system.
And not to cut this short, but we still have 2 more presentations. If there are future questions for,
He's been
yeah,
doing
quick
one.
one.
Gus.
On the officials that are hired on the Booster Club funded,
Yes,
not just officials, but other things, is the district covered for sure as far as any benefits, or social security withholding, things
What-
like, what
what-
happens to that?
we get, the business office will figure out that rate as far as with the benefits, with the insurance and everything, and they give the Booster Club the total bill. It includes all the taxes and everything, and then the Booster Club makes the donation to the district, and then we pay it.
So all that is paid
Yes.
by the district, they
By-
become responsible for it.
Via the Booster Club check.
Well,
They
we
get
pay
funded,
it.
but the
Yes,
responsibility is
the responsibility
Yes.
is still on the
We
district.
pay it and we get reimbursed.
Versus, so the 7,000 that they're committed to is for next year.
No, it's for this current season. In order to hire the coaches that I wanted to and get the season started within the next 2 weeks, we kind of needed some money from the Booster Club just to ensure that they would pay it and,
But they said they're committed for next year.
no, they have not.
Okay, anything else from Marcia, if you're able to email her, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mrs. Karstead.
I was passing out our budget that's going around, if you haven't had a chance to print it out. Before we go over the specific lines in the budget, I'd like to review 3 points tonight with you. First point I'd like to review is what is technology in the Central School District? What falls under the district technology budget is unique for each district. If you talk to another district, they might have a few different things covered under their technology budget. In our district, the following items are covered. Computers and peripheral equipment such as monitors and printers for all 5 district buildings, both instructional and non-instructional areas. In addition, we cover items such as large district copier printers, smart boards, both mounted and mobile, 10 stationary computer labs,
And
6.
let me interrupt, most people everyone may not know what a smart board is. What's a smart board?
Those are the boards that have built-in touch screens on them, so they have sensors all the way across. Or you have one in your room that's mounted this year, new this year?
Actually, last January I got it.
Yeah, so.
It's an interactive teaching system.
For
Okay.
students and teachers, right?
Pardon?
For students and
Students
teachers?
and teachers, yeah, they're amazing.
You use them?
Oh, every day.
How many smart boards are in the high school?
In the high school, probably, this is probably my least amount, is 8 maybe? 8, yep, okay, let's see, 2 mobile iPad labs, digital cameras, digital video cameras, student response systems or clickers, overhead projectors, mounted projectors such as the one here, listening centers, Nooks, Kindles, tablets, iPads, iPods, laptops, televisions, DVRs, and VCRs. We also support software, online textbooks, and systems such as the student management system, Power Schools, the financial system, the email system, the automated calling system, which you get the calls at home through Global Connect, the automated substitute calling system, the transportation system, the credit recovery system, special education student management systems, IP Direct and RTI Direct, the library systems in all 3 libraries, student lunch system, My Big Campus, internet filter, district website, and more underneath the systems there.
I'm sure everyone got every word of that.
I know. We also cover infrastructure systems, such as the media distribution system here at the high school, that's our televisions in the halls and in the classrooms, the computer wiring in all 5 buildings, and the wireless system in all 3 schools. The infrastructure is controlled by the main server room, 13 wiring closets district-wide, and we also control the complete phone system district-wide, which is voice over IP. Technology support also maintains the lighting in the elementary and high school auditoriums, the PA and sound systems district-wide, including all classrooms, the auditoriums, cafeterias, gyms, football field, and the pool, which I know we touched on a little bit, but just some additional information I have for you. If you look at that very first line under hardware, you'll see that I have $12,000 budgeted to replace the school sound system, pool sound system. The current sound system is original to the high school from 1968. Over the past few years, it's required multiple repairs. At this point, it is no longer repairable and needs to be replaced. And I just want to give you a little perspective. The pool sound system is approximately 45 years old. The high school football system and the gym sound system that were replaced by the boosters this year were both new in the 2000 technology project. So you can see it's well outlasted its life expectancy.
You also mentioned 5 buildings. What are the 5?
Yeah, 5 buildings. We have the transportation building, which is the bus garage, and we also have computers out in the cogen lab. That's our
Cogems.
Thank you. Good question.
That was Laura's question.
Well, we have technology out there. The second point is we do have a technology plan. We're required by both the state and federal governments to have a tech plan as we accept title and E-rate funds. There are state and federal guidelines for required elements in our tech plan, but the district decides what the technology to be included in the plan is. The tech plan is created by a committee, reviewed by the district administration, and vetted by BOCES before being approved by the Board of Education. Our current 3-year plan was approved last July and can be found on the district website. The plan includes long-range plans for the district outside of the 3 years. It also includes a recycle replacement plan for the district's current technology. It also outlines how to submit requests for new items. The third and final point I want to make tonight is starting this current year, the state is now dictating technology requirements for the school districts. Another unfunded mandate in preparation for the PARCC exams.
And that's a large unfunded.
I know. New York State belongs to a consortium of states that have adopted the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, or as we fondly call it, the PARCC exam initiative. By joining this consortium 4 years ago, New York State received federal money to implement this initiative. The PARCC exams were slated to start the fall of 2014. Just this past December, we learned the start date was moved 1 year to the fall of 2015. This move was primarily given so school districts could have an additional year to make the necessary upgrades to their technology infrastructure. The PARCC exams will replace the current 3 through 8 assessments in ELA and math and the existing Regents exams. The PARCC exams will be given 3 times a year and given on computers, with a total grade level being tested at 1 time. The advantages for PARCC exams will be the ability to pre-test, mid-year progress monitor, and then give the final exam. The transition to computerized testing will give the state and the district quicker results on the state assessments to be more useful for instruction. For example, with our current 3 through 8 assessments in ELA and math that are given in April and May, the district will not get the results until August. Since last fall, the state has given the districts statewide an online technology readiness tool. In December 2012, I logged on for the first time into the website and entered our student enrollment numbers, current student computers, the district network status, and the district's technology staff. The technology readiness tool gives us a report on the status of how we're meeting the state guidelines for the PARCC readiness. Based on the calculations provided by the state, we will have 3 grade levels that will need to be tested simultaneously. There's 3 through 5, 6 through 12, and 9 through 12. 6 through 8, 9 through 12. We're calculating the district will need 8 computer labs at the high school and 4 computer labs at the elementary school. If you look at the second hardware line for this year, you will see a substantial increase in this line from previous years. This is based on the new state-required technology. This will be year 1 of a 2-year increase in this line. We're trying to balance this unfunded mandate between this year and next year. Although this line is not entirely the student computers for PARCC, as we still needed to consider the entire district's hardware needs for next year based on the district's technology replacement schedule.
And I think, just to
I know.
interject for a second,
I know.
and give you a chance to breathe in,
Yeah.
this is one of those lines, Don, just to touch on what you said. This is an unfunded mandate. It's a very expensive unfunded mandate. If we don't buy the computers, if we don't have the kids running for PART to be able to take the exam at the same time, they will withhold their state aid, another one again. So, just to kind of give you an idea, this is a prime example of what we're talking about.
Do they give no pay?
That's the second
computer
line.
lines? No, we do get it.
Computer hardware.
What's going on there?
Yes. And that's what I also wanted to point out, my budget sheet does look a little different than everyone else's because it is a district-wide budget. Tom is able to pull other people's budgets and just print like specifically and maybe even pull it together. I literally had to pull around, so I wanted to be able to put it so that you guys could see it a little bit more concisely. So the first three lines are our hardware equipment lines. I did also want to point out that the third line down, instructional equipment hardware, is based on our state-funded Arwada. This is a state line, and we have 5 pages of criteria of what can fall in there. Pretty much it has to be instructionally based. So this cannot go into the business office and fund computers for there, or Dave's office or custodial computers that we may need. It can only be instructionally based. So that
Yeah.
line is very specific what we can spend it on.
Two quick things on that.
Sure.
Arwada, resident weighted average daily attendance. So when you look at our student numbers, it's not exactly our student numbers, but it's a formula based off of that. And this line as well, we get reimbursed dollar for dollar on. So when we spend, this is a line we want to spend every cent that we're able to, because we will get back all that in aid.
100%?
It is, yeah,
And it's actually based on a higher enrollment number for us, because our numbers
It's a little
are
higher.
declining. It's based on numbers of last year, not this year.
And Don actually made a good point here, and one of the first things I said to Mr. Murphy when he first joined Student Central was, I spend every penny you have.
and
if
she
you
does.
If you look at the, on 2012-13, we had $371,472.40. I spent over that. We spent $372,333.94. And that is where you're gonna see people transfer in. If we have things break by the end of the year and we don't have it, I actually believe I got some money from Mrs. Carter last year, I got some money from Mr. Schaefer. I go
Again,
begging
part
when
of the
we need to
reason if
get.
someone underspends, it can
Yes.
go elsewhere.
Yes, so, when you say, how are you this year? I'm gonna tell you, I'm on track to spend all 3,000.
She'll be at
I will
400.
spend every penny and more if you'll give it to me, so. The other line I wanted to point out, before you ask questions, is the bottom line, which is the BOCES line. Although it's going up, I think this is a question that came up last BAT meeting, was, I wish you could see the total BOCES, district-wide, because when we met, we're actually being able to decrease BOCES lines in other areas of the budget, and that even though it looks like we're going up in technology, that afforded some people to get some more things in technology by just sliding some money. So it's not really that the BOCES is going up, is that we're moving, shifting it, yeah, so that doesn't look as bad as it
might
looks.
be that we're using their server for something.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of housing our own.
Yes.
What might be another BOCES expense in this line?
In this line, this is going to be a lot of those things that I mentioned. This is Power Schools, this is Finance Manager.
Our school is a student database system. Finance manager is the system we use in, for budgeting.
Yeah. This is IP Direct, RTI Direct, this,
Special ed.
Special Ed, our automated calling system, almost all of those things we partner with.
ASOP would be part of the
ASOP, yep.
budget, yep.
ASOP, all of those are BOCES services.
And also, and I know I keep interrupting yours, but I know this conversation's come up about BOCES before. I believe the superintendent was gonna just touch briefly on what actually is BOCES, because it's not just what you would have thought back in the 1970s. Can I?
Well, yeah, go back to the 60s when I was in school. So if you go into the 1960s and the phrase BOCES was used, the physical plant, for the most part, is in the same place, although some have merged or closed down, which is why you see Cat Allegheny or Chautauqua Cattaraugus. But for the most part, in the 1960s, BOCES really only serviced students, and students with special needs that were not serviced within their own school. Some schools, like Springville, really used both. They had their own students in school, but then they would send some out. Maybe those were more behavioral. Somewhere around the mid-80s, I'm gonna say, BOCES started to find that they could not function anymore the way that they were functioning, and that they needed to find some other way to be useful to districts. If you went to Virginia, the state of Virginia, you would find schools regional. Kevin Gahn is a big politician that wants to be regional. We're kind of regional in New York State in that our BOCES are regional, we're 26 component schools or so. So in the 1980s, BOCES said, you know what, we can start buying in bulk, so to speak, and providing things to school districts at a much cheaper rate. And in some cases, reimburse you a percentage of it after you've used it. So that's what you really live off of. So that is really, Lucinda's world is BOCES, because we could never fund all of these things on our own. And so BOCES provides these kind of services to us. In stating that though, our BOCES line looks very high, 1.2 million, 1.3 million for all the pieces that they put together. But we get some back.
We do. Our reimbursement rate for BOCES is about 56% the following year. That we get back.
So they've really, really branched out and made themselves indispensable to us. Teacher trainings, housing a server.
And in almost all cases with BOCES, whether it's the computer, it's cheaper to buy through BOCES, and when you get the aid back than it is to buy it yourself. If it's staffing, because we may have one or two kids who want to go into a welding program, for instance, VOTEP, it would be much more economically feasible to have them go to BOCES, whether with 18 other kids from other districts, than for us to hire a teacher.
Whereas when I was in school, we had our own auto tech, own auto programs.
We also get BOCES purchasing power because it's the whole consortium theory too. In our area particularly, we buy like the projectors there. If you were to go out and buy that one right there, probably close $900. I can probably get it for about $600 because it's the group purchasing buying our power.
All right, so questions for Lucinda?
I'd like to know which line, Lucinda, was the technology on, and how much was it that we have to have it?
That's gonna be
The
that
hard-
second hardware line. That is the monster.
The 216 one, that's for her.
And there was a question over here that would go along with that, is in terms of state aid. So if you could just split it in there.
Right, well, that goes along with, the hardware, again, we will buy through BOCES, and we will be able to get that state aid back, which is, we get reduced price because we're buying in bulk, so let's say, I'm just gonna draw, I bought 20 computers for teachers. They pool it with all of Erie 2 that's buying for, when we go to, out July 1st, and we get the power of bringing all that number down, so I can buy them cheaper than you could buy it, even going to like Best Buy or something.
And again, if you don't use that money, you lose it.
Yes.
And I will say this with BOCES too, we look at what we buy and see if we can get it cheaper elsewhere. When we weigh and say, is what they're gonna charge us this year and what we'll get back next year cheaper than if we actually went out and bought it? And not every case is it cheaper to go with BOCES. I'll be the first to tell you.
How do you shop like that? You put a request for proposal out there?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a definite answer yet of what's going on with the In Bloom
No,
system?
we haven't heard more than what we heard in the fall, it's kind of disappeared for a while.
Well, it's in limbo till July now.
But it's not in
Okay,
your
well,
budget.
Yeah.
Am I correct in saying
There's no
it was like this year was supposed to be
In
free?
January, yeah.
And that, so is that gonna be,
It's really gotten very quiet, we really haven't heard anything.
so will next year be free is what I'm asking?
Yeah, it always, next year was always going to be free.
Oh, it was
It
next,
So
okay.
nothing in the budget for next year.
No,
No,
Okay,
15,
I'm just
16,
wondering
I think
where
the
we're at with
reason
that.
why it's become really quiet is because the data dashboard for In Bloom is so tied up in the state legislature that SED can't touch it. So the commissioners kind of caught up in what he kind of can't do after the legislature gets on the right page.
I was just wondering where we stood as far as
There
the
was
money
no
goes,
cost.
we'll have to budget some money into that, okay.
Not for next year.
Now,
Okay.
just looking at the town and stuff, one more presentation. I know, Don, you have one more question. Anything else for Lucinda? If we can then just send questions her way, and we'll follow them with every answer.
My question is twofold. One is you guys. Tax cap this year should be how much?
1.78, but that will come up in the community forum, but
No,
there you
no,
go.
that's-
Steal my thunder, go
That's gonna
ahead.
tie in. Marissa and a whole bunch of other people said stay to 5%, keep your budget the 5% increase.
For supplies and materials, not for staff.
I just don't see how you're gonna make it when you're going up, all of them are going up.
The bottom line, Don, is you're absolutely right, we're not gonna make it. We will
Someone's
have
gotta
to cut.
take a hat
You're absolutely right. So we will start with the administrative team coming together, which we are again tomorrow, to say, okay, where are we looking and where do we need to cut? So you're absolutely right.
It's a
That-
working proposal.
Yep. And
But
that's,
Lucinda really wanted you to see where she started.
I'm sorry.
this is good.
No, 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 no.
No,
I'm not trying to kick dirt on her.
No, but it's good that
I'm
you
just saying,
picked
I'm
up on
looking at the
that.
numbers.
The numbers
I'm
won't,
not a math wizard, but
yeah, the numbers won't support
We,
all of it, absolutely.
it's not, yeah,
No, without a doubt.
we sit down and calculated ours.
Yep.
And that will come up in part of our presentation before.
So, but that's, you're spot on with that. Spot on.
Yeah. Yeah, so lights off here? Yeah, I just need to.
It's the second light over.
Isn't it? That's the back that
oh,
Yep, I'm gonna ask you to, if you did receive Tom's email and the attachment, I'm gonna ask you to just throw his out and replace it with the one that's going in there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Or recycle, we'll collect them, I'll recycle, and then we
Thank
can,
you.
there you
We'll
go.
recycle.
We'll be economically and ecologically.
Okay. Buildings and grounds. Basically, we take care of your facilities. Everything. Valued at $67 million. My budget has to somehow figure out how to take care of that every year.
How many acres?
We're a little over 100 acres.
450,000 square feet, somewhere around there.
And it's about 450,000 square feet of building. I have a total of 20 employees, including myself, that are taking care of that. And it is a daunting task to say the least. Again, we maintain your facilities, we enhance, and when we can, we prudently do that fiscally, if it's possible. Good example, when I first started here, we didn't never put anything but some lines on a football field. Now we have some numbers, all right? It's a little more paint, but it's a much better facility, all right? We're trying to move forward with that. We continue to develop safety initiatives. This year, Mrs. Anzalone asked me to take on the role from Ms. McKenna of coordinator of the safety team. And there are some initiatives that we're going to be putting forth this year that'll be pretty interesting, and I think the community will be surprised at what's going to happen. And we'll talk about that as time rolls on. We take care of development of capital projects, as well as contracted projects, and for work outside of the budget. We investigate and implement new trends and techniques when we can within the department, trying to keep as current as we can without spending a whole lot of money or any money. All right, perfect example of that is the Green Cleaning Initiative, where we spend perhaps a little more money on equipment, but we use a whole lot less toxic chemicals than used to be used. All right, this year we're talking about stripping floors using water. And that's going to be something that's completely different and unique, but my staff has already been trained on part of it, but it's a new way of doing business. They're finding out that you can do things by splitting a water molecule apart, and you can actually disinfect with water. A lot of people don't realize how that can happen, but you can do that. We have to meet the rules, regulations, and legal obligations that are set forth. Obviously, there's state regulations, there's federal regulations, there's regulations by the Commissioner of Education. We're obligated to do all of that. And obviously, our goal is to create a healthy, safe, nurturing environment for the children that's conducive to their learning. That's our goal as a department. For the most part, we stayed within the budget guidelines that were set last year. Some small increases in certain areas.
And Dave, what I am just gonna have you point out, you see 1620 and 1621. So his departmental budget is broken out into those two areas. 1620 is all custodial, 1621 is all maintenance. So that's the basics.
We had an increase in the supply area. It was basically due to the amount of chemicals that we ended up having to use to disinfect the pool. That's where we saw the increase this year, versus the previous year. It could be by the number of bathers, it could be anything. We don't know what it is. It could be increased by the cost of the chemicals. But that was where we saw an increase in supplies in the custodial budget. All right, like I said, we're trying to do things smarter and better and healthier. So I'm hoping that we can stay within last year's budget or perhaps even decrease where we were. On the maintenance side, two items that are you're going to see significant increases. Something we haven't done in the past 4 years is to sand the parquet floors. Those are the wood floors that are in the elementary school. They're part of the original building from 1939. Originally that building had all parquet floors. Over time, a lot of them have deteriorated. They were replaced with fiberglass. We have not done that in 4 years, and they're starting to really show the wear and tear. So
Where are they going?
they're in the classrooms. All right. We have planned in this budget to get them refinished again, and hopefully we won't see that cost for another 4 years. We are still planning to refinish the gym floors every year, and we need to do that because of the amount of activities we have in our gymnasiums.
We do that every year?
Every year.
That's subbed out, or you?
No, we sub it out, we bid it out. Okay? There's something else that we put in the budget. It's a $100,000 capital improvement project, and I'm going to elaborate on what that is in a few minutes, which is part of the reason that you're looking at a video presentation rather than having me just talk. All right, contractual services. All right, one of the items that has gone up in contractual services is basically the cogen plan. All right, it has been in service for about 8 years now. What we're starting to find is there's some deterioration of the controls in the cogen plant. It's our obligation to take care of maintaining those and to replace them as needed. This year we had a couple of pretty good sized hits in the cogen plant that required some control replacement. That wasn't really budgeted. We had to find the money within my budget to make those repairs. We are still saving money having the cogen plant operate, and about $50,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, is what we anticipate in the
It's your
budget.
revenue.
Yeah, that comes in basically as revenue from the operation of the cogen plant versus buying power off of, National Grid or whoever would supply it to us. All right? So, cogen is still profitable. It does take considerable time to maintain it, but we are still saving money. And just as a side note, when the cogen plant was put in, it was put in under a basic no-cost project, and the savings from it were used to offset the capital expense for the taxpayers to put the science edition on and the locker room edition on the other side of the gym.
And what I would also say, while the coaching plan was a capital project, just as you said, the maintenance of it cannot be taken out of capital. It is a general maintenance, has to be done out of our general operating budget, which is why it's here.
Correct. Now, $100,000 project. Why are we doing it now? What's the benefit? And what is in it? Okay? If you remember Sandy Hook tragedy, out of that, the governor came up with the New York SAFE Act. All right? There's a lot of things that are associated with the New York SAFE Act, but one of the things that is a part of that is what he's calling hardening of school buildings. All right? That means they become more resistant to outside influences getting into the buildings. All right? So we have an opportunity in 2012, 2013, 2014 budget years to harden our buildings and receive an additional amount of money by doing that. All right? Beyond our typical state aid of 75%, I believe is where we're at, or somewhere in that vicinity right now. Okay? What does that mean? That means that if we put $100,000 into our budget, we can do this project. We can apply for the aid for the project, receive 75% of that back to us, build another $100,000 project into the next budget, and it will only cost us the difference, the 25%.
What you're saying is you have to put the 100,000 in this year, so it has to come out of this year's budget to get.
Correct. All right.
This is a little, well, it's considered a small capital project. It was designed by the state for them to fund small, quick things for school districts to do. The first year, the district has to fund the money. There's no other ways about it, out of the general fund.
Is it a cash outlay this year or
Yes.
just a budget?
Well, it would be a cash outlay through the budget, basically, the budget.
I mean, do you have to do the project as well as the budget?
Yes, we have to have the money in order to be able to do it.
You can do it in another year.
Right.
I don't know if we're answering your question.
If you budget it this year for the 100,000,
Right.
can we do the project next year after the state's actually reimbursed us? Is that what you're saying?
No, you have to, the year of the budget is the year that you have to
Right.
do the project, the following year is when you get reimbursed.
When we are completed with the project, we have to submit paperwork to indicate who we dealt with and what we paid them. All right? Tom will, what is that, an essay, what is that?
That's it, 139.
139, it's a state form that goes into the state, and then they send us the reimbursement check.
I think the difference is you have to complete the project.
Correct.
Before they give you anything.
Right.
The rules for this are a
the
little
project, do
similar.
the project next year, they give us 25% of it back.
They give us 75%.
75% of the project. So if we start that process now, we're never gonna be behind the baseball by more than 1 year on $100,000 budget.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what
But
it is.
if we don't do it this year, we lose the window.
We're gonna lose the window, and we're gonna lose the little bit of incentive that will go away at the end of this year.
So we're trying hard to end up with this money in this year's budget.
Right.
Dave, I have a couple of questions. Is it guaranteed that after we apply for it, that we will get the money?
Yes.
You said if you apply.
Yes.
And the other question is, what about setbacks? Because as we all know, we've all had our bathrooms redone, and it doesn't get done in the 2 weeks they said to get done. So what about that inflated time? What do you think of that?
There's always a possibility that things are gonna go wrong, but,
So I can
let
see
me
it-
tell you what's in here, and this might, okay. What's in this project, and what you can do in it, is you can do door replacement, you can do door hardware, you can do side light removals, you can do window films, and and this is exactly what we're talking about. You can add cameras, you can put bars on windows, you can put bulletproof glass in, all of that stuff. You can put that in there, all right? Our intention at this point is to put window film on the doors and window film on the emergency exit windows. Our intent is to change the locks, and this is a good example. If you take a look at the lock on this door, if all of a sudden our building went into a lockdown, which means that everything stops in the classrooms, everything stops in these areas, you clear the hall, you find a safe haven within the area, and you lock the door to the corridor. Right now, we can't do that without having somebody go outside with a key. So by changing the hardware and changing the handles on the door, we want to be able, that person to be able to do it from within the confines of the room.
If there's an intruder, we don't want them going out into the house.
What is window film?
I was gonna
Don't
have
I know?
For all intents and purposes, it's a clear, or it could be a piece of amber colored plastic or silver colored plastic. I don't know if I have a piece of it here.
Do any of our windows currently have that?
Actually, these windows right here have a film on them.
Dave, I thought my classroom door had it on it.
It might, but you can't, this stuff, the reason it's so nice is because of what you're seeing right there. You can beat on it with a hammer. You can beat on it with a baseball bat. You can throw rocks at it. You're not gonna penetrate it. It'll stop the window from shattering. Will it stop a bullet? No, it's not gonna stop a bullet. But it's gonna stop a person trying to enter a building using those methods.
The message that we get is slowing down.
Yep,
What can you do to slow
What is
down?
both, why wouldn't we use both for classes?
because I don't think we could ever afford it.
Well, it would be nice to know the percentage of the windows currently in the school that already have that.
None of them have this. I can tell you none of them have this.
Okay.
They
I
may
thought you
have,
said those ones, yeah.
they have
It's
solar
all
film. It was solar film put in here, A, because of the amount of glass, but B, because of the computers, to reduce the reflectivity of the computers. All right? The other thing we want to do is we can add more cameras. All right? And I want to show you what that means. Currently, we have an analog system in our buildings. It's about 10 years old. And did I see Miss McKenna? Miss McKenna looks at the cameras almost hourly. All right? And she calls me frequently and says, I need this video. Something happened. And we look at it and we can't tell who it is. All right? And a pretty good example is the girl that's on the right-hand side of this. You can't really tell who that is. Same thing with the parking lot. When somebody's out there, you can't really tell who that is or what's out there because there's just not that definition. If you think back 10 years ago, we didn't have high-definition television. We didn't have LED television. We didn't have LCD television. We had cathode ray tubes.
And,
Yeah.
Couldn't read things.
and Dave, I'm also gonna say, in which he's not telling you as well, in our safety committee, we had heard that one door was propped open and a snowmobiler, meaning no harm whatsoever, came into his bathroom. We couldn't tell who it was at all. And when you're looking at student safety, it's just not acceptable.
This is what we get to see at night. Right? That's a typical hallway, and that's what the parking lot out back looks like. What we're proposing to do is come to this. This is digital technology. That's a daytime view of an entrance and a daytime view of a hallway. The beauty of digital technology particularly is that when you look at something and you want to blow it up or zoom in on it, the definition doesn't go away. It
And slow it
maintains
down.
itself. And you can slow it down. All right? This is what digital technology looks like both in the daytime, and that's a nighttime parking lot. I think you can see it's pretty significant and pretty different. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that this $100,000 project is going to give you cameras every place in this building. It's only going to be a start.
But I think it's important to say that when we look at cameras, that Lucinda then has to look at server capacity.
Yep.
And you need to look at whether our system can even sustain it in that particular way.
Yep.
So,
Alright,
And
so,
some money will have to go into some of the hardware to make that happen.
Are we talking just one building, or are we talking all three buildings?
No, you're gonna be talking about all three buildings.
that's why he's in charge of this is the whole.
and Ms. McKenna did a wonderful job, but again, she's based out of the Junior Center High School, and it really should be a district-wide person doing it, so she is still helping significantly in there as well. And for everybody who is standing there for the community forum, I just wanted to let everyone know, you have not come in midway through the community forum, you haven't started that yet, you've missed nothing yet on the community forum. We're just wrapping up the budget advisory team, so we will have the full community forum, and we still should be done by 8 o'clock, so just to let everyone sitting there know.
I just want to digress for 2 minutes. The reason I asked you to throw the paperwork out you received from Tom is because on the back of the handout you got is some information. Through my local Buildings and Grounds Association, I hope next week I will be headed to Albany on Wednesday and Thursday to be lobbying on behalf of facilities. Prior to us being there, and I'm sure perhaps some of the school board members may have received an invitation from the School Board Association to also go to Albany, I believe on Monday and Tuesday, for a lobbying effort. This is what the School Board Association is going to be handing out. Their intention is to lobby on behalf of school safety after what happened at Sandy Hook. Their lobby effort is going to be concentrating on a separate and distinct line item in the budget solely for the safety measures implemented in schools, all right? They don't want safety to necessarily be entirely a budget-driven thing. They would like a separate line item and a portion of the state budget to be dedicated and used solely for the protection of the students.
And I'll guarantee it still won't be enough to cover it, but
It
it's
won't
better
be.
than no.
But the point is that the School Board Association thought enough about the safety of the students throughout the state to want to go to Albany to do this. And we're gonna follow up on the heels of that with similar type legislation that we're proposing. So I'm gonna ask you if you have the time to please write your senator, your assemblyman, and ask them to please consider the safety of the students in the legislation that is being asked for. So, questions?
I have a question on the maintenance lease, it's under, maintenance, what, can you explain that, Dave?
Okay.
There's nothing in there for 2012 and 13, and all of a sudden we have 15,000 in there?
Actually, there was $15,000 last year.
The 2012-13.
12-13 we did.
And what does it cover?
Basically, what we're concerned about, we have not had any equipment purchased in, I'm talking large equipment, purchased in a significant period of time.
At least 6
Yes.
What, can you name one of the large pieces of equipment?
We have 2 large area lawnmowers, both of them are in excess of 10 foot, that sell for well over $80,000 a piece. We have a loader that we use to clear snow that is well in excess of $100,000. If we, and we already know that the loader itself is on its last legs. It was a one-shot deal when it was manufactured. We ended up with 1 of 2 in the state, and we are the only ones that have one that still exists. The engine itself has been rebuilt once. The electrical system, I understand, as of today, has burned up for a second time. So, we put money in the budget last year, $15,000, in anticipation that we don't know what piece of equipment is gonna go down or when it's gonna go down, but we have to be prepared because we don't have the money in the budget. to
How
buy
much is
it.
it to lease a piece of equipment like that for a?
We leased a loader, for a couple of years, for 6 months, and we ended up paying close to that $15,000
For 6 months?
for 6-month lease.
That's our winter.
And that was just to clear snow for the winter.
Well, I still
How often do
think
we
we
actually
might
use the
want,
loaders?
about the last 4 years.
Every snow, every time it snows.
We've had 4 years of no snow. I mean, this was a terrible year.
We used it every time it snows. We put a 10-foot scraper box on the front of it, and I can tell you right now that my guys start usually around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and for them to get through the entire district in a plow and a sander and salting, they go right up to 7 o'clock. And there's a lot of times that we'll get snow at 6 a.m. Mrs. Angelo can attest to that. At 6 a.m. it starts snowing, and you gotta make that decision.
All right, another minute or two in deference to everyone in the crowd.
Go ahead.
Natural gas,
Natural gas.
212, 213, budgeted 250. You spent 207. Sherry, I know what you're saying. You budgeted 254, 8. And I know natural gas
Going down.
has gone down significantly, although in the last couple of months it's gone up about 15%. Why is that number jumping so much?
And I'm gonna tag
It's
another
over
question
7.
onto that. Do we contract the natural gas?
What we do, we belong to a consortium through BOCES. It's called SMEC, School Municipal Energy Consortium. Basically what happens is they go together and they get bids for,
It's part of bid purpose.
yeah,
And they give us
for
the
natural
rates
gas.
to-
And that's how we purchase it. It's done through a large consortium, and again, like I said, it's municipalities and schools. I don't derive that number.
No, that comes from the SMEC,
Right.
that it says you should budget this for the coming year. It could go down,
it could go up, but
Look
then
at
you also use hedges as well as part of that, so.
Do you know what the measurement is on, for the natural gas, how they measure it, like
Cubic feet.
cubic feet, and do you know the cost of it?
No, I don't know what we're paying. I don't see that.
You don't,
No, I don't see those
do
numbers.
you see it in the,
We can get it, we can
You
build
can
from
get
spec, but
There's one question.
Sure.
I'd like to see how much we're paying per cubic foot.
You're going to Albany to try to get some type of security type system?
What we do is we lobby the politicians
Yep.
to try and get legislation moved forward on behalf of facilities, and in this case, the school boards that are going for school safety.
Okay, now what scares the heck out of me is we get a new program, the state kicks the money in, and they turn around and say, it's a mandate, and then they tell you, you're paying for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so why go for new programs?
it's a good question, and a lot of the new programs that they talk about, we're required to do.
And keep in mind, New York State may pay for it. We're New York State.
I understand.
But they're also our kids that we're keeping
But-
safe, so.
But the reason that you have that paperwork, if you look at it, there's a chart in there that talks about what school districts have done. All right? It's reasons for not adopting safety measures. All right, and there's a list of them, the buzzer system, closed circuit TV, blah, 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 blah. The interesting part of that chart is we could not afford.
Right.
I mean, if you at least go and lobby with the hope that you're gonna get some money someplace, it's gonna help. It certainly is gonna help, rather than say, okay, we're gonna budget X amount of dollars to do this.
So we have electronic fire doors?
Yes,
There are magnets?
they're tied into the fire alarm system, yes.
Is that controllable manually also? In other words, you've got electronic fire doors, generally what they do is when a fire takes place, the alarm goes up, they let go of their magnets.
Yeah.
Instead of letting go, with letting go, can you hook them up the locker? This way that intruder,
Can't do that.
No, because if there's a fire, you're locking people in.
Correct.
no, you're missing my point. Mrs. McKenna is sitting in front of her computer, she sees the guy come in, he pulls out a shotgun, she hits the button, the door's closed, she hits another button, the door's locked. Now you isolated this lunatic in one area. You can also get the kids out of the other areas.
But you can't do that. The reason you can't do that is you cannot create a dead-end hallway with a locked door, regardless of what the situation is. That's a fire code.
Plus you'd be tracking other people
plus, the door was
Now,
already locked.
what I can tell you we have done so far through our security system is in every one of the buildings, there is a button in the main office that will put the buildings into lockdown. All right? There's an automatic notification to the security company that a building is going into lockdown. It automatically disables all of the electronic functions on the exterior doors. And that's exactly it. So anybody that has a key fob to get into the building can't get into the building. Anybody that's outside of the building can't get into the building. So whatever is contained within is staying within at that point, all right? Anything that's outside is gonna stay outside.
And again, I hate to cut this short,